Welcome to this very special bonus edition of the Filmmakers Podcast. This is a podcast where we talk
filmmaking
from indie films to studio films and
everything in between.
How to get them made, how to make them, and how to try not to
royally F them up. In
our very, very humble opinion. Today on the show, we have the amazing actress and now director, Anna Kendrick. Yeah, that's right, the absolute superstar who's known for Up in the Air, Pitch Perfect, Trolls, Twilight series. And Dom sat down for a wonderful chat with the lovely Anna to talk about what, Dom?
Her brand new debut feature, Woman of the Hour.
Woohoo! Not only did she star in it, she directed it too. What did you talk about, Dom?
We talked about the transition from actor to director. We talked about the incredible visual storytelling that she utilised in this. We talked about setting tone and what to show and what not to show in terms of the serial killer side of the film. Mm-hmm. We also talked about working with other actors and casting the film and how no role is too small.
Wow. She's just a huge talent. Movies such as A Simple Favour, The Accountant, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, The Company You Keep, End of Watch, Drinking Buddies, Life After Beth, Into the Woods, and very recently Trolls, It Takes Three. So she's at the moment she's in post-production for A Simple Favour, the sequel, which the first one was incredible. So I can't wait for the sequel of that. If you haven't seen that, it's amazing. The list goes on. She was Oscar nominated as well. She's worked in theatre. She's just a wonderful, wonderful actress, and it's so great to get her on the Filmmakers Podcast. And it's a special bonus one for you. We are going to get the writer to come back and join us of Woman of the Hour very soon. And because Woman of the Hour is out now on Netflix, October the 18th, we wanted to get a little sample of this out now because we can't put the writer, Ian MacDonald, out for a little bit because we're not recording it yet. But that's why this is a very special bonus edition for you.
And what a lovely chat it was as well. Anna's just such a well thought out creative. I mean, obviously the acting side you kind of take for granted because she's very talented there, but the directing, I say it in the episode, but it's a very impressive debut. It's a very visual language type of film. The acting is obviously incredible, and there's so many nuances that you see in these, especially in the psychopathic serial killer, like played by Daniel Zavata. The nuances in the facial expressions when someone changes from charming to about to commit heinous crimes. It's so well done, and there's some brilliant sort of sequences that are very conversational and psychological that Anna both performs and directs.
Cool. Oh, and on Saturday, tomorrow, by the way, if you're in London, come and see myself and Dom Lenoir. We are doing a live Filmmakers Podcast, so it's not going out live. We're doing it live in front of a studio audience. I say studio. We're at the Hen and Chickens Theatre, so it's a theatre audience. And we have some of the feature films that are playing at the Funny Life Film Festival. The directors and writers are coming on to join us on the panel to talk about how to make a feature film.
Yes, and hopefully they will be as funny as us.
So unlikely. So unlikely. So do come join us. That's tomorrow at the Hen and Chicken, Saturday the 20th at, is it 2 o'clock? 3 o'clock? Links in the show notes. Go have a look. Yeah. But come join us, come say hello.
It's in the afternoon.
Yeah, I think it's 2 o'clock. Yeah. I'm going to play the trailer before Dom sits down to chat with Anna. Dom, can you describe the movie in about 15 seconds?
Cheryl Bradshaw, a single woman looking for a suitor on a hit 1970s TV show, chooses charming bachelor Rodney Alcala, unaware that behind the man's gentle facade he hides a deadly secret.
Did you want me to try it again?
No. We'll be in touch. Hey, Cheryl.
Yeah.
No.
Janet?
Janet.
Helen, I can barely afford my rent.
Well, I booked you a guest spot on a TV show.
Right through here. Great. You okay? Uh-huh. Great. Have fun.
All right, everybody, let's get started.
the games begin.
Bachelor number one. This is nice and easy. What are girls for?
What do you mean?
Just what I said. I believe in you, Bachelor number one.
Let's go.
I go crazy when I look in your eyes. I go crazy.
Bachelor number two. What are girls for?
Why does this feel like a trap?
That old feeling inside.
I've been on this show since 1968. The one thing I've learned is, no matter what words they use, the question beneath the question remains the same.
You know when I look in your eyes, I go crazy.
What's the question?
Which one of you will hurt me?
And Bachelor number three. I'm counting on you. What are girls for?
Well done, Anna. I mean, as a film, this is impressive, but as a directorial debut, it's sort of doubly impressive.
Thank you so much.
And it does such a great job of, it almost opens like a Fincher film with this really rich kind of visual language and this sort of serial killer vibe. But there's also this allegory of being an actress or an actor that's just not treated very well. That's like this, twin theme sort of going through the movie. I mean, can we talk a little bit about the visual language first and how you sort of covered the violence and cutting in and cutting away and those kind of things?
Yeah. Well, I knew that I wanted all of the women in the film, frankly, with the exception of my own character, to be really surrounded by beauty and nature. I spoke to the cinematographer a lot about, even our lens choice. I wanted really, really clean lenses. We sort of talked about how we didn't want the kind of juice, the interest in the character to come from the lens. I wanted it to come from the settings that we were in and from the woman, as in like her life, her performance. I didn't want to kind of shoot even anamorphic because I wanted it to really feel like we weren't looking through a lens. I wanted it to be as real and clean as possible. Obviously, we then switched to a different lens set for the dating game portions, but even so, it's also when you're playing a character, it's pretty easy to volunteer yourself to be like constantly humiliated.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed kind of putting Cheryl, my character, in, just the worst possible, both scenarios, but also visual settings. The opening was also meant to kind of start us off following the No Country for Old Men model of violence. Obviously not comparing, that is a masterpiece, but I
mean, you've done pretty well.
But your inspiration should be a masterpiece. So it also meant that I got to like win several battles with the producers because I think they wanted an increase in violence as the movie went along. And when I would sort of reference No Country, it helps you win those battles because you're referencing a film that everybody loves.
I mean, two things you do exceptionally well with the violence and the way that you've shot, the intro and all the kind of the murder attempts and all those kind of violent scenes is you're capturing these moments of nuance with the actors. But then you're choosing to sort of cut away, which in a strange way actually makes it more powerful
Worse.
and worse, like really horrifying it because you're sort of almost, oh my God, what's happening? And it's a really interesting sort of stylistic choice that actually heightens things, but does it in an interesting way.
Yeah, it's funny because that opening scene, because I had said, it was almost a bit of a like, don't worry, I know it's a serial killer movie and I'll actually make it scary. So I there were like two other setups that we had that were a bit more just literal, I guess. And I don't know, it just wasn't that interesting. And I remember turning to my editor and going, there was some really gorgeous B-roll that we shot while we were waiting for the actors to come to set. And particularly this shot where I asked the camera operator to sort of pan across the valley, and he was like, "Do you want me to roll focus?" And I was like, "Hell yeah, I want you to roll focus." But it was like, well, what am I ever going to use this for? But it's so beautiful.
It is, yeah. You mean the sort of the field shot almost with all the glistening. I mean,
Yes.
it's so stunning, and it almost makes the violence more tragic because it is,
Exactly.
it's almost this beauty versus horrible act. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. And there's something about it that feels like even in the worst moment of this person's life, she's connected to something so much bigger than this kind of pathetic man, you know? I really wanted to keep all those characters connected to a piece of nature.
And it's horrifying that it's a real story as well. I mean, that's kind of when it gets to the end and you find out that, you know, these brave, brilliant women were, yeah, I mean, just not listened to. It seems to be the common theme. I mean, how did you sort of come across the story? How did you get involved? What made you desperate to do it?
So yeah, I got the script as a submission, just as an actor, and I'd heard the same thing that I'd guess about 50% of people had heard, which is, once upon a time there was a guy who went on the dating game, and it turned out he was a serial killer, and that's sort of all I knew. And so I was, first of all, so kind of surprised and delighted by how emotionally powerful the screenplay was. I didn't really know what to expect from it, and it was so much more than this true crime story. And I kind of was involved for like 2 years, mostly kind of waiting for the movie to come together. And if anything, I began to wonder if I was kind of overstepping in my feedback about the drafts as they would come in. But, as often happens, you're kind of sitting around waiting for a movie to get the green light. And then, at a very inconvenient moment, someone goes, "Oh, okay, well, wait, we've raised the money and we have this window of time, and there's an implication that if you don't keep the train on the tracks, it'll kind of, disappear again, and who knows when you'll be able to pick up the pieces." And at that moment, we didn't have a director. So we were starting the search, and about 48 hours into that, I started to feel a little bit heartbroken at the idea of anybody else doing it. And also, I suppose a tiny bit like, wait, somebody's just gonna waltz in here and tell me what the movie is after like 2 years of being
deeply involved and having so much, it sounds like a lot of feedback and a lot of ideas, and it seems to be a thing that like actors are getting more involved in the earlier stages, and I think it's a good thing. Like as a director, actors should be like the most important thing, really, and often they're like the last part sort of fitted into the puzzle.
I couldn't agree more. I know I'm obviously biased, because it's what I've devoted 20 years of my life to. But I often think like that camera angle might be the most gorgeous thing ever, but if the performance is false, it means absolutely nothing. And meanwhile, the shot can be pretty mediocre, and if the performance is great, then we're in business,
It's true,
I think I drove my casting directors absolutely insane, because every single part in the movie, I was like, okay, but you guys, I'm being serious this time. Whoever plays this part has to be amazing. But it's, 40 speaking roles on an extremely low budget film that like, hey, we're making this in 6 weeks. We have to do it in 24 days. It's really ambitious, and we need all these people. And, I'm obviously delighted to say that everybody in the film is really dazzling.
Well, they are, and you're completely right. And I think it's one of the biggest flaws, especially in the independent sort of film level. But it can happen in Hollywood as well, where you just get these like, oh, it's just a small part. We don't need we don't need to think about it or discuss with the actor, or let's just have them turn up. And as soon as you get one performance that isn't quite there for any number of reasons, the whole film just suddenly you're out of it. I mean, how did you sort of transition from being, a very successful, complicated actress to directing? Like, how did that work, and that kind of symbiosis on the film? Was it intimidating to kind of switch between the two, or did you just sort of flow into it?
Oh, I see. Yes. People kept asking me, for lots of reasons. It was such a last minute decision. But people kind of kept asking me, are you worried about balancing, acting and directing? And I kept saying, I was like, oh, I'm terrified about directing. Let's get that straight. But acting, I've been doing this my whole life, really. And I've always aspired to be the kind of performer who is aware of the frame and is aware of the edit and, thinking about how this will all cut together. I think I've gotten pretty good at understanding what I'm doing and how that will actually come across in the frame. So that I wasn't really worried about. That said, the scenes where it's like me and one other person, that was great. My little theory tested out perfectly. I'm watching you in the scene, so I don't need to go and watch
you
playback.
Experience it and you're
experiencing
reacting.
this person. I know the frame and I know how it's going to play perfectly. And I have a decently confident sense of what I'm doing and how that's going to play. But once we got to the dating game, we were filming that like a 25-page play. It's all cut up through the movie, but obviously, we couldn't wrap out scenes and then go back and do other camera setups. We had to block it out. So it was I think it was 10 principal actors and 7 featured background performers. And, basically running a shot for about a 25-minute take. And all I could really do after that is run up the bleachers to Video Village and my gold platforms and say, can you show me 30 seconds from the middle? And if that looked good, I had to cross my fingers and keep going. There were a couple of moments in the edit where I was like, oh, damn it. Like if I'd been behind the camera, I would have said, you guys, something really cool just happened, but we were moving behind that piece of equipment and the shot's going to look so cool if everybody just backs up like 5 lines. But, it all kind of worked out fine and it cut together. But yeah, there were like a couple of heartbreakers in the edit.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that probably is the case, especially on an independent film, that if you're doing such long takes, you're doing such a big, complicated scene, you almost have to trust that you've communicated with your heads of departments like in advance, and that they're going to kind of know what the nuances are, and the other actors, because you're also separated by a wall, I suppose, in the wide shots at least, between the other actors.
I had total confidence in all of the performances. And it was more about, there were just some, like kind of dolly shots tracking back and forth where like, everybody did their cross at the exact right time and everything, but it did mean that like, oh, I missed this really cool thing that I wasn't expecting to happen. And like, oh, damn it, if I'd known. But again, it's all fine. So I'm not bitter about it.
It came out pretty well, I think. I mean, that scene definitely holds everyone's attention, and the performances are really good, and it's so electric as well. Like you were just kind of assassinating these 3 guys on the panel, and it's so great. And the game show host, who's horrendous, is kind of finally sort of diminished a little bit. So was the chronology of the film always? Because I mean, that's another sort of element to how smart the film is. It sort of cuts backwards in time, and it sort of feels very seamless. Was that always part of the plan? Did that change in the edit at all?
Yeah, it's funny. There was I had this idea about like doing these kind of disorienting transitions between timelines. The first one was actually kind of like a real solid idea in my head. I called the screenwriter Ian McDonald and I asked him to write in this moment where these casting directors are sort of talking about me like I'm not there. And I hoped that it would feel a bit disorienting for a moment because you're wondering, well, wait, are they talking about the girl that we just saw lose her life? Or what's happening right now? And then I kind of secretly had this idea of like trying to find ways to, have those visual cues or audio cues. And I didn't really tell anybody about it because I think I did know that it was a bit arrogant to imagine that things would stay the same in the cut. And, you know, these transitions were sort of relying on the idea that things would mainly stay the same. But like sometimes I literally wouldn't even think of what it could be until we were shooting the scene. There's a scene that cuts away from another woman and onto me at a bar. And I just thought, oh, I'm going to pretend that I just heard a glass smash in the back. And then I can use a kind of audio cue for that transition, even though we hadn't shot that piece with the other woman yet. And so I was like, well, this would be a perfectly fine way to get into this scene, even if I'm wrong.
Yeah, and it worked well for you did something similar with the bed as well, I think, if I remember correctly. Someone was sleeping and then it cuts to another character, which is really smart.
And the spotlight and the sun and the skylight, you know.
Yes, yeah. I mean, yeah, it's a film that it constantly sort of amazes you, the perspective of the different characters and how it kind of all links together. You
know, obviously, like, I was a bit worried that the transitions could come across as like kind of cutesy, kind of twee. But I really felt like it was almost a way to, forgive me, but to sort of keep all these women spiritually connected. I'm not sure that I mean spiritually, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, it is. It's connecting the theme, isn't it? Because there isn't, you know, and it did feel like the theme was kind of centralized across everything.
Yeah, because it could easily feel like a movie about, you know, all of these people that have nothing to do with each other. But I hoped to kind of create the sense that it's almost like they're all the same woman in a way, in spite of how different they are and how their timelines don't necessarily intersect.
So what was maybe the hardest part of the shoot, you know, as a director specifically, because we've established you're pretty good at acting.
Hang on. Not even saying pretty good at acting, saying I've gotten used to acting on film, and I feel like I understand how to do the job, I suppose. That's all. Yeah.
Because I mean, it seems like you really got a grasp of the cinematography and the editing side, like pretty quickly, and you know, audio. We talked about audio cues, transitions. So I mean, what did you go into there and think? You know, maybe this is something that I haven't done before. This feels a little bit alien.
I mean, I think there are pieces of, you know, camera and certainly sound and editorial that I don't feel confident in at all. But funny enough, I think I felt most out of my depth when speaking to the production designer, who, thank God, was absolutely lovely and a miracle worker. And like what he did on the budget that he has, I mean, someone should study the man, quite frankly. But in addition to that, like, he was so lovely and very understanding about the fact that, like, I barely know how to decorate my own house. Like, you know, the idea of describing what I wanted a set to feel like was, but it really was like kind of just a matter of translation. You know, I sort of, for example, I described Cheryl's apartment and you know, wanted it to feel, you know, like a bit like one step up from a prison cell, and you know, so I'm going, oh, I think it's just a square. It's just like this, you know. There's nothing interesting about it, whatever. And he was like, I'll give you the feeling, but I'm not going to make an apartment that's just a square room. That would be a terrible idea.
Yeah. Keeping that simplicity whilst it looks, you know, actually quite interesting on camera is quite a sort of difficult thing. Yeah.
Like, yeah, that it should look a bit depressing while still being a little bit interesting.
Yeah. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about how you work with other actors and maybe some of the mistakes that you've learnt not to do when directing actors, you know, whether that's rehearsal or on set or whatever.
Oh God, the luxury of rehearsal is not something we really had, but yeah, I think I was afraid that that actors would show up and just speak a totally different language than I do. I think I remember early on someone calling me like kind of a technician. Like, I don't really want to have a big mushy conversation about feelings. I'm really interested in, like, what can I do to get the audience to feel what you need them to feel. Like, I feel very much in service to the story and in service to the film. And And
Rather
I
than
know
emotion.
that everybody has their own process, right? And I was absolutely terrified that some actor was going to show up and I was just not going to know how to speak their language. But if anything, I think I had a bit of a cheat code, which is not to say that I, as an actor, like, knew how to speak a secret language of actors. It was more that built into every single thing that I said to an actor was, I've been in your position. I know how much I'm asking of you. I know how weird this feels. And like, I'm so grateful for like the energy you're giving. And to have that already built into every sentence I said was really, really valuable. Because also in this movie, every second of every day, I was asking so much of the actors. There really aren't scenes of people just kind of like having brunch with their best friend, a real just, kind of save the cat, getting to know you portion of the film just isn't really happening.
Yeah.
So I was really asking a lot of all of these people. So I'm very, very grateful that was in fact kind of baked into our interactions.
Yeah, and that sounds wonderful, because for such an intense story as well, I think you have to really approach it with sensitivity, and you're obviously like spending so much time on the casting to get these great actors that I suppose it's letting them rip with great ideas. And
and also I'd forgotten, I was I was thinking I was such a stoic leader, and as all the actors have been doing press, they've humbled me and reminded me that I was a real crybaby on set. Like, they're all talking about how, like, after, my favorite takes, I'd come out from, behind the monitors and I'd be positively weeping. So there I was thinking I was being all strong. But, apparently I was really emotional.
Well, you've done an absolutely fantastic job from all the departments on this, and I thoroughly enjoyed watching the film. It was well paced and very thought provoking and very cinematic. So, congratulations again.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Anna.
That was Dom and Anna Kendrick.
And Woman of the Hour is out today on Netflix. It's a brilliant, true story that raises a lot of very important questions about being taken seriously in the industry and as a woman. So it's a great story and a brilliant directorial debut.
And if you're lucky enough, like Anna is, to rise up and do well, it is your duty to
send the elevator back down.
We will see you next Tuesday when we have the Business of Film special about making horror films, the stats, the facts, the figures, why you should do it, why they make money, why they don't. We'll see you then on Tuesday. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.